Hello, everyone, and good afternoon here from the Merolla's living room, Peppe Merolla in France. Today, it's a very special day for me because I'm going to be joined by a great friend, someone that really has a special place in my heart, him and the whole family. But most of all, he's been inspiring me a lot since I met him and since I heard him playing the drums. Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the great, the one and only Joseph Joe Farnsworth.
Grazie, Peppe Merolla. Come stai, signor?
Sto bene, I'm good. How about yourself?
Molto bene, molto bene.
This is wonderful. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for doing this. You know how much I love you and how much you inspire me. And I'm glad to have you here.
Great. I'd like to welcome you up to Riverdale. I moved up here 13 years ago. I lived on the Lower East Side for 18 years with my brother James and the great Jimmy Lovelace on
Wow.
Fifth Street and Second Avenue. So I spent many years with him, and a lot of greats stayed over there. Junior Cook, Cecil Payne,
Yeah.
Curtis Fuller, Dr. Lonnie Smith. So I had to bring that up here. So I just want to introduce you to some other people that live with me, Pepe, and you jazz lovers out there.
Yes.
Elvis Jones, can you see?
That's Alvin.
All right, John Coltrane.
That's it.
Okay, so that just sets the tone for the house because it's not about me or you. It's about the drumming community, friends. And
That's indeed.
we
Yes.
continue onwards with Billy Higgins is here. Can you see?
Wow. Yes.
This is my prize, Pepe, my signed Max Roach picture.
That's Max Roach. Whoa.
Live at the Royal Roost.
Oh.
This is a couple more I'd like to show you. The very first really friend I had in New York City, the great Junior Cook.
Yes.
Uh,
Whoa.
Cecil Payne.
That's wonderful.
George Coleman.
Big G, the great.
And this is a special one. This is very funny. This is me and the great Horace Silver.
Oh man, look at that. That's
And
wonderful, man.
yeah, this is my roommate, Jimmy Lovelace, if you can see that.
Hey, yes.
Yeah, that's the way he was, man. Happy as can be. And I'm going to end him over here with
I'm
this is, New Orleans, Herman Riley, and
Oh,
Herman
this is
Bowe.
wonderful. That's
And
beautiful.
and this is a picture of July 4th.
Well,
Joe
McCoy.
Cannon and McCoy Tyner.
Yes.
So I'm surrounded, bro. I'm in good company.
Yes. But
Yeah.
I'd like to open a little parenthesis and close it real quick because
Okay.
some people they don't know about the late your brother James
Right.
Farnsworth.
Yes.
And I remember one time I was at Smoke with John
Okay.
and John Farnsworth, which is Joe's brother, guys.
Right.
And he's a great musician, saxophone player. But one night after the gig, he was playing a record of James playing the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I said, I couldn't believe it was, a young player because his soul was related and connected to the sound of the jazz classic, whole soul tenor saxophone. Would you please tell us some about James? Because
Well, he's
we want to know.
just of five of us. David, who's the original drummer. I stayed in his room. He's like a Grady Tate protege. He's very smooth on the drums. He had a beautiful set of Ludwigs. And in the middle room was James, and then the other room would be my brother John, who you mentioned, my brother Paul. And so there was music in each rooms. David had the big bands in his room, Sonny Payne, Buddy Rich, those guys. But James, he started playing saxophone maybe, let's guess, 4th grade. And I remember his first lessons was my father. And he was, learning the scales and squeaking.
Yeah.
And he was, and he was rattled. He was nervous. I said, oh, man, I don't want to go through that. So I just walk backwards up the stairs and get on those drums where there was no squeaks and squawks. And I could just spend some time without having to take lessons at that point. But very quickly, let me show after this story. He was very meticulous in what he did, especially with art. Let me show you this this is one of my prized possessions. This is a paint by numbers that he did as a boy, and you can see it's just they have the perseverance and the dedication to finish this. So that might have been when he was about 6 years old.
Is that James?
So to take the time, yeah. And so then when he grew up, he just gravitated to like Sonny Rollins and Sonny Stitt. And as Antoine Roney said, man, he must have wore out that record, with Dizzy, Sonny Stitt, and Sonny Rollins. And he would take a Sonny Rollins solo and record it on one cassette player, and then he would make a 4-part harmony out of it, like a sax solo. And he had that mind about him, practice all day long. And one of my first great memories of James was we were in Interlaken, and might be 73, so I'm 5 years old. And we're in the band together, and the guy called, I was playing the bass drum, the guy called me out. I was playing too loud. Puff the Magic Dragon. And he says, "You're playing it too hard. You're like a jackhammer. Give me some touch." And he started yelling at me, and I was like, the spotlight was on me. And then he put a music stand about 6 inches away from the bass drum, so I would develop a touch. But afterwards, man, I was distraught. It was embarrassing. And he told me this is how his mind works. So he must have been 6 years old. He just took my arm and says, "Yeah, man, don't worry about it. One day you'll be able to play any way you want to play." And I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. Like, how would something like that come out of his mouth? I didn't really know that. That's him. That's him, Pepe.
No, but the first impression, and you can ask John.
Yeah.
The first thing when I heard his record, he's playing, I said, "No, that's not possible." I said, that's an old soul right there. This guy is not that. No way. I thought it was, I thought it was a master, somebody, the classic players, one of those guys.
He was, I think he studied classical music with Lynn Clark. I think that was the guy. And he went to Interlaken his senior year in high school. And then he went to North Texas State, and he was in the 1 o'clock band. So, I mean, his reading was off the charts. And, he got on Ray Charles because of Jim Rotundi. And then, man, you should have heard him. One of the best nights of my life when he started subbing for Roy Hargrove's band. Boy,
Wow.
that band was popping, man. We would go down the Vanguard, and me and my brother David would sit on the stairs, and James just and people were freaked out. It was like they never heard a baritone like that. He was a bad motor scooter, and we got to spend many years before he died down in Lower East Side with the great Cecil Payne. So that was a tremendous connection.
Does he have any record out? Did he record anything? Like,
we made a family band record, and then we made a record with Rotundi, me, Peter Mihelich, and Dwayne Burno. It's not a record, but it's on CD. It's on YouTube, I think. And then we put one of those tunes on a One for All record. And then I think that's it, man. Maybe Ray Charles, maybe some. No, I think that's it. He died when he was 33, so he was always on the road. So it always seems like he's on the road.
Unbelievable. But anyway, rest in peace. He left a lot of great memories, a lot of great music, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
Now, I got let's see. When did you start? What made you start? What motivated you? What inspired you to be a musician, a drummer?
Well, my father's a music teacher, so it was just inherent. And then there was records all over the place, music everywhere. And as I told you, I lived in the room with my brother David, who had a beautiful set of Ludwigs, man, like camo Ludwigs, and beautiful cymbals that shiny, man. He had the little China Boy. He had the little splash in the middle, like Butch Miles and Sonny Payne. I mean, he was doing the whole thing. And so this is before I even went to school. And before he'd go to school, like 4th grade, he'd say, "Now don't touch my drums." But he put a little swear in there, I think. He said, "Don't touch my drums." And I watched him walking down the street to center school out the window, then zoop, jumped on the drums. And like man, just playing the ride cymbal, even though I didn't know what I was doing, but just playing the ride cymbal, it was like a party to me, man. It was like, if you put on Shiny Stockings or Buddy Rich and you play along with it,
Yeah.
it just felt like a party. And that was confirmed when I met Art Taylor later, that he said he loved playing the drums because it was always like a party to him. And hey, bro, I love the party.
Yeah. So, and I got another question. Let's see.
Yeah.
What was your first record? By the way, before we go on, I wanted to tell you, because I see some people watching. So, guys, please prepare your question. If you guys have any question, please, we will be so happy to hear from all of you. These videos that that I'm making here, that I'm going live, is not about me or about John. We all know who we are, and Joe. We all know who Joe is. But those videos, live stream, to me, the idea came from giving the opportunity to interact to a lot of people from around the world, people who know me, people who doesn't know me, or to interact with people with such a great artist like Joe Farnsworth. And those so this is a great opportunity, I believe, for all of you guys, for all of us to have a dialogue and ask questions to those talented artists. This is the right time to ask the question, and spread the news, because music is about religion, it's about giving, sharing. This is a great opportunity, I believe, especially when we get people like Joe Farnsworth. So take advantage of it. So here it is. What was your first record?
My first record I really remember was Buddy Rich, West Side Story.
That's a good one.
And upstairs, the version I had upstairs had a skip in it, and so I discovered that after months. So I was playing along this fast single stroke roll, and that was the third I had to audition for Big Brother John's Good Vibes band, because they were rehearsing during the time that General Hospital was on at 3:00, and my brother and Slow Boat to China. So those are my first three big records.
I know. How important and how inspiring was for you to be able to play with those great musicians.
And, if you don't mind, we can start. I got a couple things I pulled off for you. I just didn't start with Cedar. When I got to New York, when I was in William Patterson, Tardo Hammer and John Weber, I met them, and they got me going out to Brooklyn to play with this man. So I just took this couple records out. I hope you can see it. Nope. This is Pal, Bill Hardman.
Yes. Wow.
So we started playing with him, and he was doing it like once every 2 weeks. I'm like, let's do this every day. So this was the first group that I'm really into. And Pepe, this is he signed it here, which is a big thing. Bill Hardman, Junior Cook, Robin Eubanks, Mickey Tucker, Paul Brown, Leroy Williams. These guys, Junior and Leroy, was the first really hip group of jazz musicians. And I hate to use the word hip. Those guys were hip. They were so approachable. They were so swinging, and they were so down to earth. That's why if anyone ever wants to study with jazz musician, right there, Leroy.
Yeah. I met him at Smoke. Great guy, great person.
And then if I continue onwards, so through Bill Hardman, I met Junior Cook. And this is the record, one of my first gigs at Home to Me. Junior Cook, Harold Mabern, Gene Taylor, Billy Higgins. So I got a gig that night in 1991 with Junior Cook and Harold Mabern. So I'm playing along to this. And during the day, Pepe, I was cooking. I was swinging. And then I got to the gig. I couldn't play anything. I'm like, what happened, man? And I realized I wasn't playing myself. I was just playing along what Billy Higgins was playing. And when I got to the gig, guess what? Billy Higgins wasn't there. So that 1991, that's the last time I ever practiced to a record, man. So see,
That's
I had to work my way up, and Cecil Payne, Bill Harbin, and Junior Cook really helped me to get there. That's so I'd have to put that.
okay. You
Okay.
already answered that question. We're going to go back to to the musician that you played with and all that stuff because we still got time. We just started it, but I got a question for you.
Okay.
How important it is, in your opinion, how important it is to transcribe the great other drummers, like the greatest drummer in the world,
Oh,
the
I,
classic. How important it is to transcribe them.
well, I mean, to literally transcribe with pen to paper, I never did that. But that doesn't make me any good at all. There's people that do it, and I'm amazed by it. Um, Billy Higgins, Art Taylor, Jimmy Cobb, they never did. That's just them. So if it wasn't important to them, but now what was important was actually sitting down and watching those guys just walking to the drums, man, and looking in the eyes. And then transcribing. I was transcribing my ears, listening to them live. What's most important was to go see these guys live. And now you can't really do it, but there's people out there, our generation, and there's Lewis Hayes, and there's Roy Haynes, and
Yeah.
well, Charlie Persip's still around, but Tootie Heath. Um, I would say I would think anything that makes you better. Everyone's got their own journey. I never did it, and some of the teachers I play with never did it. But they listened a lot. Listening would be way more important than transcribing to me. But people that transcribe, God bless them. I wish I could, Pepe. I just can't.
No, I agree with you because I'm the same way. I also believe that it's very personal. But to be able to transcribe someone, in my honest opinion, I feel like if you are related to that drumming, then you are in love with what he's doing. So you want to know more. So you're going to go over there and analyze what he's doing. But at the end, it also happened to me that from my experience, that when I transcribe things, if I transcribe things, which I never did, but only few things. But it happens that when I go play, I don't have the time to think what I transcribed at home, or try to think I'm going to apply that thing. I just can't. I can't even try to imitate anyone else. I want to make a mistake, but it has to be me. I want to play the music that comes out of my heart, my head, So,
Like I
and
said,
I'm glad you said that because I agree with that 100%. I've seen so many people saying I'm transcribing this, and that, but then at the end, I will suggest just to listen to your heart, listen to a lot of music, a lot of great drummers, drummers that you feel related to, and and um, and play
but
you,
well, something here, another record here that we can get to. The two tenor winner, Clifford Jordan and Junior Cook. And this is with the great Eddie Gladden from Newark. Eddie Gladden, ladies and gentlemen, was cooking. And you can check YouTube with Dexter Gordon. Eddie Gladden was a rough customer, man. So I'm with Junior Cook in 1991. And this relates to what Cedar would tell me and what Benny Golson told me my first time at Benny Golson's gig in 1994 at Sweet Basil. And then my first time was Cedar Walton at the QE2, maybe it was 97. But now let's go back to 91. I'm in Brooklyn with Junior Cook. I kept asking him, hey, man, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And this is one thing I've been noticing, especially on Facebook. And when, because, especially with this pandemic, you're watching a lot. You go on and you see the drummers going crazy and just playing everything but what those three guys told me. And what Cedar Walton told me about, but Junior Cook, it was like a divine intervention, man. I'm trying to be hip. I'm trying to play all this stuff. I'm trying to play like Leroy Williams. And I said, Junior, what can I do? He said, stop bugging me, man. I said, what can I do? He said, just keep playing. But then on the jukebox, Miles Davis Walking comes on with Kenny Clark. And he comes over and taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, man, This is what I want you to do. And then he rarely looked me in the eyes, but he looked me in the eyes. He said, this is all anybody wants you to do. It's just that time. Time, Pepe. That's
Yes,
what Golson wanted. And then Cedar Walton, he didn't say too much to you. You just need to be on the gig or you weren't. If you're on the gig, he liked you. If you weren't on the gig, then he's not going to tell you what to do. You're just not going to be on the gig. He told me, he says, hey, man, you're way too good. You're way too hip for me. That's his way of saying, stop playing so much shit. He says, all I need is a little time. That's what those guys had me focus on, is playing the ride cymbal. The time. Just time, man. Because that's Billy Higgins. That's why he played with everybody, because his time was so wide and so beautiful that anyone could fit in there. Ornette Coleman, Dewey Redman, Pat Metheny, Cedar Walton, George Coleman. The list is endless, man.
wow.
Time. That's, Max Roach. Emits. Is it George Coleman? He was in Japan. He says, hey, man, you want some butter with them rolls? And then Harold starts laughing. It was like 4 a.m. I said, oh, shoot, this can't be good. And George's like, hey, man, you want some butter with them rolls? And Harold's like, that's right, man. You want some butter with them rolls? I'm like, yes. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And George says, I know where one is, but I need some emit. I need more emit from you. I said, what's emit? He says, that's Max Roach, time backwards. EMIT, time, TIME. So that's what got me. It wasn't transcriptions, it was time.
That's it. The right symbol.
It's
Yeah.
it's separates the men from the boys, the women from the girls, man. Can you play? Hey, man, if you're gonna go up there with Lou Donaldson, I mean, are you gonna play all the drums in the world, or are you gonna try to? You're gonna play Love Walked In? And if you can't play time, you're out. I mean, it's embarrassing. What are you gonna?
You're going to be home watching Popeye. So another thing, man, I really appreciate all those beautiful documentary you're making. Tell us some about that. How that came about.
Well, I hadn't been on internet, and I had no. And this club owner was like, "Oh, you have no internet presence, man." And like you were just talking about, I don't want to talk about myself because what's there to talk about after 30 seconds? So I was at the Vanguard playing with Peter Bernstein. I said, "What am I going to do?" And I was staring at a picture of Billy Higgins. I said, "Oh man, Pepe, I have to tell you something. This might sound weird to you, but I was talking to Billy Hart about it. I love getting dressed up and going to see other people play more than I love playing myself. It might be weird. I love playing, but I love going out and hearing other people play."
And why this should sound weird to me? Do you remember? I was always, and I still go out when I see somebody great. I always go see them. That's very important.
It's the joys of life, man. I mean, what better joy
Yeah.
can you get dressed up and be grateful, and then go and hear someone like Billy Higgins. And so I was looking at his picture. I'm like, all the things that he talked about to me and seeing him play. I said, maybe I could just talk about that. And then after that, well, it was Harold Maven's birthday, March 20th. So that's a no-brainer. And then I thought about all the things like Roy Haynes talked about, all the times I spent with Roy. Man, I had a wonderful night with him at the Blue Note, and we stayed there for like 5 hours, man, drinking cognacs, and all he talked about was Sarah Vaughan and brushes, Lester Young. Man, it was, man, it was like goosebumps, man.
I bet, especially for you to be there and talk to the great Bill Higgins. But what was he saying about Saravan brushes?
Oh, just how he loved, they all loved, but that particular night with Roy Haynes, he loved supporting her. He loved the sound of her voice. He loved the lyrics. He loved playing standards. He loved, like, if you're going to play I Remember You. He loved, like, especially with playing with Bird and those guys, da 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 da. He loved the cracks in the melodies and what he could put in there. Da 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 da, boom. Da 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 da. He waited for that point. Da 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 boom. That's boom,
Yeah.
bam. All that
So
shit.
in other words, he was arranging it. He's an arranger.
Yeah, they all are. All are. It plays, but where's that point where you could put something in there? And
Right.
AT talked about that. I said, learning lyrics. He said, if you want to be a drummer, learn the lyrics of tunes, which I never really did. And Roy was singing these tunes, and he started tap dancing, and he would accent the spots during the middle of the melodies or wherever the cracks were. And you could hear it in his bass drum playing with Charlie Parker, you know.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, man, how special my stuff isn't special at all. I know where I stand, as you like to say, but those guys' stuff is special. So what I could do is maybe this time where everyone's staying at home, maybe pass that stuff along, you know. Pass that stuff along I learned from Art Taylor. I hear these people complain about their schools, you know. Well, schools never made anybody a great musician. It's your constitution. It's between you and your higher power. And what are you going to make of it? If you have a gift and you have talent and you can listen, it's not the school that's going to make you. And so these people complain about schools. Well, get your butt to New York City and get your butt on a phone and call Jimmy Cobb up. I wasn't getting good lessons, so I called up Art Taylor. Rest is history, man. That's up to you. You got to find your own way. A school can only provide you a little shelter. But come
Theory,
on,
yeah.
it's New York City, man. It's Roy Haynes. It's Leroy Williams, Pete LaRocca. You know, all sorts of Jimmy Lovelace, all those guys.
That is a question. Can you read that question from that's Gilles Severance from Mexico, from Monterrey, Mexico. He's asking you a question.
Okay.
Can you read that question?
Well, first of all, I have to Mexico. I have to give a shout out to Our Lady Guadalupe from Mexico City.
Oh.
Okay. Let's see my question here. Oh wow, that's easy. Swing, man. It don't mean a thing unless you got the swing. It's a no-brainer. Swing is 99% of the deal, and 1% I guess 90% of the deal. The other 10 is to show up on time.
Yeah.
That was AT's first thing he said to me. I had a lesson at 3:00, and he said, "Farnsworth," I said, "Yes, man. You're lucky. It's 3:00. If it was 3:03, he would have opened up the door. So if you're not on time, you can't play in time. So be on time and swing hard. That's the major. Imagine if you couldn't even play the snare drum, but your right hand was slick as all could be. You'd get the gig."
No. I agree, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's Daniele Visconti is writing hello, Daniele. Jill just said thank you. Now, how important it is not to sound like the masters.
Well, Pepe, I'm 50.
Hold on. We know how important it is, to listen to them and admire and worship them and everything else. But how important it is not to try to sound like them, you think, in your opinion?
Well, Pepe, I don't know if I'm going through a, what do you call it, midlife crisis or this quarantine or 52, but for many years, man, I was trying to sound like Billy Higgins. I was trying to sound like Max Roach. When I played with Cedar Walton for many years, I mean, all I heard was Billy. You had to try to do it yourself. But I took a lot, man. I stole a lot. And I've recently having these conversations come back to me, like Al Foster, who says, be true to yourself. Or Roy Haynes, mean what you say what you mean. And then even with Arthur Taylor, says tell the story in the first person. And I was always saying, wow, that was always my problem. I was always trying to tell the story, maybe through Max Roach, maybe through Billy Higgins. And so recently, talking to Billy Hart, and on one of the Jimmy Cobb videos, maybe, or it was Max Roach, he's doing a drum battle with Philly Joe Jones and Al Foster. Max Roach goes in front of Billy Hart and starts tapping his tom-tom and talks about being original. And that's what I have to do. Hopefully for the next 5 years is my goal, is to try to change the way I play to my own self, because I didn't really know who I was, man. I was always trying to be like those other guys. So I'm just, it's like a confession, Pepe. You're
Thank
like
you. No, this is
confession.
wonderful. What you just said, man, that's wonderful. That's very helpful. It's important, guys, to transcribe other people, especially at the beginner. But again, the goal is not try to imitate those people, because you don't want to sound like a parrot or something. Because you will always be the bad copy of your hero. Your hero played in that way because he felt in that way. In other words.
I'm guilty as charged, bro. But I'm because of this time off. I've been meaning to change. I got to find my own way. That's for sure. That's my big.
You know the story of Freddie Hubbard at the beginning. Freddie was trying to sound like Miles, and Miles told him one night, says, "Hey man, stop trying to sound like me. Play you." And that night, Freddie just like he opened up, and that's it. That Freddie, ladies and gentlemen, Freddie Hubbard. There you go.
Well, that's the goal. The next 5 years, that's the goal I set for myself.
Well, we all try to set our goals. That's the beauty about music, that we will never feel satisfied and never feel like we achieved anything, except if we looked in the past and we know that we're getting better or whatever, But it's like inside, I never feel satisfied. I don't know about you, but I feel like this will never be done. That's the great news about music. It's like music is beautiful, it's challenging, and it's great. It's to make people feel great. But guys, we will never be done here. I mean, this will never be done. Will be day after day, learning process and growing process. I guess. I mean, for me, Now here, there's somebody else here. Thank you so much, Pepe and Joe, for doing this. In addition to being a musician, thanks for tuning in. Okay, here. How has this experience changed your approach to the drums? Well, you just say.
I could also say that Sutton, the experience of being on the bandstand with Pharoah Sanders, George Coleman, Cedar Walton, Harold Mayburn, McCoy Tyner, those guys, first of all, it was never about them. It was about we, which was a massive lesson to me. It was about, they always talk about the we, the group, but I never experienced those great guys. They take, say you're at a level 5, they take it to a level 10. They could play, each of them could play Star Eyes. And, guys say like, oh, Star Eyes, man, that's a jam session. The hell is a jam session tune? That's the tune Charlie Parker played. That's the tune that McCoy Tyner played. Roy Haynes, Cedar Walton, George Coleman. But they make the Star Eyes from here, and they bring it up into, like, heavenly power.
Yes.
How they
did. Star Eyes is a beautiful tune.
The energy they have, that experience. So when you go and play, you can't just play. You have to rise above somehow. You have to make it from here and make it that people that pay $20 and bring a date, that's $40, that they're tapping their feet and snapping their fingers. It's a show. You got to be charismatic. So you can't just go there and play time. You've got to put on a show.
That's true. That's true. Somebody else is asking another question. So with that said, what's the best way to find yourself as a drummer? Go look in the closet. Not just kidding.
Well, I like his name. It's just find your way straight ahead. Jeffrey, straight ahead. That's how you find it.
Jeffrey, straight ahead. So what is your answer to Jeffrey?
You, man. This is when Freddie Red and Jackie McLean left the Connection, my great friend Cecil Payne took over. And this is a beautiful record by the great Cecil Payne.
Beautiful Cecil Payne.
And this is called The Connection, and one of his favorite drummers on it, the great Charlie Persip.
Yep.
Much about Charlie Persip. I was
Look
at
at
a big band rehearsal. Well, I don't know where it was, but Charlie Persip was there, and he could sight read everything, man. Everything. And speaking of New York City, I wanted to put this on here. Another underrated drummer. This one with the great Junior Cook, Barry Harris, Lenny McBrown.
Wow.
I wanted to show you this one too. This is Grant Green's first record. And now they talk about Harold. Oh, he's like a copycat of McCoy Tyner. That's lazy bull crap. He was playing Harold Mabern before he knew who McCoy Tyner was. And matter of fact, recorded this record with Elvin before Elvin even played with McCoy Tyner.
Whoa.
All the gin's gone.
Gangrene and Alvin.
Yeah.
Mamma mia. It's like, Mamma mia. Yeah, that's a heavyweight right there.
Here's a record. I'll show you now. They talk about like Detroit guys, blah blah blah, Chicago guys, but this was a group of guys who I love from Sugar Hill, and they played together a lot. This is Donald Byrd, Walter Davis, Arthur Taylor, Jackie McLean.
Wow.
Sam.
Guys, take a note. I'm taking some note too, because some of the records I don't know. So I'm taking notes. I got it on video anyway.
Here's two things
about music, guys. That's sharing, that's giving. And Joe is really I think this is one of the best. Yesterday and today, this is one of the best interview, so far.
Hey drummer, here's a lesson.
Education.
If you want to learn how to play fast.
No, please. Oh.
Yeah.
Max Roach.
George Coleman. George Coleman, man. I used to live on 5th Street, 2nd Avenue. He's over on 9th. And man, just when we had gigs together, I used to love walking over there, the anticipation. And if you had to leave at 8, you couldn't show up at 8. It'd be like 7:30, one of those type of guys, man. And if you were there at 7:35, but you had to leave at 8, he'd be pissed. And he always talked about being sharp in your mind, man. And that's why he exercised a lot and being sharp, because he liked the group as a well-oiled machine. And you never know where he was going to play. Like Billy Higgins said, he'd shoot. He shot from the hip, man. So whatever's going to come, you better be prepared.
Off top, nice suit.
Here's something I found, man. Those any other questions?
Yes, I guess so. Right here.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is. Justin Davis. That's from Auckland. He's one of my students also as well. I joined Pepe. Love this talk, Joe. Thanks for showing us those great records. Can you tell us about any live show you saw that knocked you suck off, and changed your life?
Well, speaking of Oakland, I'm not sure where he's from, but hey, this is the next record. I think it's Oakland.
1954.
This is the great Joe Gordon. He might be from Oakland.
Really?
But this is great art. And I got to thank my buddy Dwayne Clemens for introducing me to Joe Gordon. This is Charlie Rouse, Art Blakey.
Oh.
Anyways, knocked my socks off without a doubt. 1988, Visiones, Roy Haynes. My socks, my shirt, pants, belt, underwear, socks, shoes, hats, everything were knocked off. I never saw it. Man. I couldn't believe, man, you talk about bebop drumming, but as like a modern way, come on, man. I couldn't believe that bass drum. He'd make your ribs break because it was just like, bam. Just think about playing Charlie Parker, but 2000, well, this is 1988. So he was just playing Charlie Parker in 1988. I couldn't believe what he was playing. And his nickname, Light and Right, that knocked my socks off, man. I think the first time I saw Billy Higgins was Cedar. Definitely Arthur Taylor at the Vanguard. Definitely Elvin Jones at Blue Note. I actually, one of the first time I saw Elvin, I was sitting right next to Carl Allen. And that bass drum. See, those guys played bass drum, man. Those guys knew about, arranging, what to play, what not to play, what to support. And they knew everything came from the bass drum. The first time I saw this dude was unbelievable. Idris Muhammad. That knocked my socks off. He's the guy that told me about you got to play play the drums from the bottom up, not from the top down. Because he was from New Orleans, man, so he played the bass drum in those, marching band stuff.
Yeah.
So how about you, Pepe? What knocked your socks off?
Oh man, there's many. There's many gigs that I did. I went to see some great musicians. When I saw Jimmy Cobb, for example. I mean, it's not a technical thing to me, but when I went to see Jimmy Cobb and Roy Haynes, same thing. I mean, I was like, what the hell was that? That has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with the paradiddle or the, five-stroke roll or anything like that. That was like, I said, what the hell is that? It's the sound that they get out of the instrument. And that's what it really blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I was, I was born, or maybe I was living longer in New York City, because I moved in New York City here 2000. So, which a lot of the greatest that I wanted to see, they passed away, unfortunately. So I didn't really get a chance to see many of those guys, but I am always blown away. I'm blown away. Every time I see Roy Haynes, Blackie, I wish I was, I'm sure you saw Art Blakey, right? Live.
Many times.
Yeah. So that's, I have never seen Art Blakey live, and I feel like, it's a big, for me, I feel like, man, I really wish I was able to see those great masters, I mean, just to feel the energy, the vibe, because one thing is listen to a record, and try to and figure out the rhythm they're playing or whatever they're doing, the licks. And one thing is see how they touch the snare drum, the cymbals, and how they pull that kind of sound out of the instrument. One thing is watching that you can see what they're doing, how they, and one thing is listening from the record. Okay, and then you grab. Man, that's it's for me. I feel like, man, I wish I was really able to see Art Blakey live. I was lucky to see Jimmy Cobb, Mickey Rooker live. Louis Hayes. So to me, this is like a big plus. Louis Belson and many Joe Morello. Actually, I hung out with Joe for many years. We were very good friends. But Blackie, man, Blackie, that would be something that would be like the cherry on the cake for me to see. I saw Blackie right there. Just to feel the vibe, because that's about the I don't know how to explain it, but that's something that I miss. I miss a lot.
We always talk about the greats, but being in New York City, as you know from San Francisco by the guy Donald Bailey, there's a lot of greats that aren't so-called great names, but great drummers. Jimmy Lovelace, Frank Gant, Harold White, Khalil Mahdi, Jimmy Wormworth, Dennis Charles, Pete LaRocca. I mean, he had a big name, but he wasn't really seen that much. I got to see him a bunch. Leroy Williams.
Yeah, I saw him live.
Marvin Blue Smith. So many guys that are like so-called, not underground, but underground, tremendous drummers that you have to step up your game, especially in New York City. I can tell you something I saw Pete LaRocca do, and I'll have to do it quietly, but you talked about hitting the snare drum. He's playing 2-bass hit, and I never seen anyone play this way since or before. Now, I hope I can show it to you. I'm going to do this quick before the lady above me stomps on me. So I'll do it very quietly. Now you think about 2-bass hit. Da 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 da. So if he said ba da 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 ba da 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 da, he said with half the stick on the rim, half the stick on the drum.
Beautiful.
Pete LaRocca. And speaking about hitting the drum, Arthur Taylor's the one that showed me. I've never seen it before. Where Philly Joe and those guys, and he said Kenny Clark came up with it, is you leave the stick in the drum. So say you're just comping. They weren't comping and just they'd leave the stick in the drum if you could see it.
Yeah.
Listen to the difference between this. Bigger sound. Now, if you're going to play some Philly stuff, talking about transcribing, just even a basic this. That sounds okay. But when you leave the stick in the drum like Philly did, look at the difference. Listen to the difference.
Yeah.
Phrase is always in the drum. Art Blakey, when he's playing a shuffle, he doesn't just bounce the stick off the drum. All the notes are in the drum. It's not. There you go.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, in other words, they did the opposite of what the people say. Do not, lick the drumsticks in the drum head, because otherwise you stop the sound. That's what he wanted it. So,
Show you something. This is 5 lessons. I'm going to show you something that's going to make you into a bebop drummer. Don't blame me when people start calling you a bebop drummer. And he showed me the stick in the drum, and it changed everything, man. Hey, man.
No. That's wonderful. That's yeah.
Mating call. I'm going to get through some Art Taylor. God bless him. Now, this is a record, Art Taylor with the great John Coltrane down bird, but with my great friend Jamil Nasser on bass, who used to be called George Joyner, who grew up with Harold Mayburn and George Coleman.
So what was you? No. Go ahead.
Art Taylor. And keep going with George Coleman. Elvin Jones live at the Vanguard. There's four volumes of this Skyscraper.
Hey.
And I wanted to show you something. What I do with it. Oh yeah, this record. Well, they don't. And this is a record. I'll play it before we end. When I practice, I end my practice session. I get on the brushes and I play to this. I mean, I play my mind, music. Well, there's another dude, man. I used to see him at Condon's with Ari Rowland, the great Vernell Fournier.
Yes.
There's just so much, man. We all talk about Art Blakey and Philly Joe Jones, but there's a host of people underneath that. I'm talking to Art Taylor. I was telling him how much I love Pete LaRocca. Now, there's a record called New Soil, Down Bird. Pete LaRocca's comping on there is incredible. But he's the one that said, if you like Pete LaRocca, Clifford Jarvis was the guy. And so I started listening to Clifford Jarvis, and he is the guy. I was going to show you something. I got to look for it. Why don't you say something, man? What's on your mind?
Well, in my mind is this the question that I have. You did took some lessons, and you met the great AT, Art Taylor.
Sure did.
How was he as a teacher, as a person, as a human being? To you.
Man, he was darn close to being God, man. I mean, darn close, man. Woo! Because when I was with AT, I was right back there with Big Sid Catlett and and JC Hurd and Max Roach and Kenny Clark. He loved Kenny Clark, man. And so when I was with him in 1988, I could have been back in 1950. And he was the first guy that talked about a sound. And if I don't get a good sound, you ain't gonna make it. And he talked about certain thing on the brushes, man. I'll show you something, man. That he said. Now this is directly from Kenny Clark. Oh, where did I put my brushes, man? Oh, over here. I can't find. Oh, right here. Now this
There
is
you go.
interesting, bro. So I did this. I'm playing my second lesson with Art Taylor. If you go with this. And
Oh,
and he said that Kenny Clark says any person that plays brushes that goes "Grr" is an amateur. Laugh, joke, don't do it. He said he did it once, and Big Sid knocked a bottle over his head. And he says, don't embarrass me, boy, on the drums playing that "Grr" with the brushes. Now, I don't know why, but that's what he told me.
so what was that he did not like?
The "Grr," they're like ding, 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 "Grr," like that.
Huh.
Hey, but he said he didn't know why Kenny Clark told him that until later on. There's something about it there's something about it that showed that you weren't hip or something like that. And he said, AT, the last time he did it, Big Sid socked him right in the head. Says,
Whoa.
don't.
So he just wanted timing with brushes.
I can't tell you what it is. I'm just relating the message.
No, I know, but
Okay,
he
yeah.
was like, just the time, keeping the time with the brushes without doing da 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 da.
Well, there's something about being lazy. There's something corny. There's something corny about this action. Something like that.
Oh, huh. It
I had, some,
is.
I had something special to show you. But as far as like lessons with him, oh man, he showed me that thing with the left hand. He showed me the movements that Kenny Clark showed him. And what was the greatest thing about him, it allowed him to know why to trust me. And so he trusted me. So when I went to see him play, when the gig was over, he'd grab me by the arm and said, "Come in the back room." And the back room would be Walter Davis, Donald Byrd, Alvin Jones. I mean, it was scary, and you couldn't stand in the circle. There was no talking and hanging out, being one of the guys. You had to respect that and stand back. But he allowed me to see it, and if I
That's
didn't take lessons, he would never have trusted me. And it was the greatest thing I ever did, man. I called him up and got a lesson.
yes. Art Taylor.
Oh man, I mean,
Huh.
just Red Garland Trio enough, man. I mean, come on.
he had that swing, he had that thing going on. It's like you can always recognize him every time he start a medium tempo. AT, that's his signature right there.
Hey man, there's a record called Jackie's Bag. Philly Joe's on the first part, AT's on the second part. Now we all know Philly Joe's. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But AT on that record, man, he's kind of kicking some. Oh, this one I wanted to show you, man. My first teacher with the great Alan Dawson. And here's one of his. This is how you got it, your lessons. I just happen to have one for you. That's an Alan Dawson written out
Oh
rudiment.
man, you took lesson from him, right?
2 years, bro.
Oh
That's it.
man.
That's the snare drum, and it was beautiful, man. I mean, I met him in a freshman in high school.
Maybe afterwards you got to send me a screenshot.
Triple flamadiddles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Alan Dawson gave me the hand stuff, and then Art Taylor gave me like the sound, like what to do with the hands. Alan Dawson AD got my hands together, and then AT showed me what to do with it. Man, he would show up on my gigs and he'd sit in. And it went from here to way up there. Talk about it was a. That's really the definition of being humble, man, because it's not humiliating. Because how could it be? Because he's so good, but it makes you humble because you realize, wow, he just showed me like the oasis of how to play the drums, and now I had to spend the rest of my life trying to maybe get there, maybe. But boy, what a gift that was to see him do it.
Yeah. Bruce, Pedally, Joe, do you play any other instrument?
No, I play. I stare at the piano a lot.
No, but you do play another instrument too.
I don't. No, I don't.
No, you do.
I do. What?
Oh, the doorbell. Yo, you knock. Let's see. There's another one here. Tommy Bradascio. Bradascio. I see that Joe have the Syncopation by Ted Reed. I love that book. Yeah. Yes. It's a great book.
That's circa Alan Dawson, 1983.
By Ted Reed, this one.
Yeah. So he's probably Alan Dawson, and then AT. We did a couple little things out of the Wilcoxon, but not much. Just basically like the three camps. Actually, Jimmy Lovelace and me used to practice a lot on the Wilcoxon. He showed me a few things, but he loved the three camps. So we did that every day together.
You know, on the three camps, which I love them too as well. I got a book, not between my teacher and myself, we wrote 39 systems with all different sticking of how to execute the three camps.
Oh.
The three camps, the old book. And then I wanted to show this. I got it just a handy right here. Because not many people has this book. You might know about this one.
Hey, man. I got something like that.
That's the Body Reach Today.
What's this?
Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I got the. But this one has, guys, you got to check it out there. Besides Syncopation, check out this book. This is a great one of Body Reach. Not many people knows and has this book for some reason, but there's a lot of great information in here. Anyway, just sharing that. So, Joe, yes. Any tips for getting this guy here? Any tips for getting a better press roll?
Yeah, practice. My very last thing I do is I play music on the brushes. But before that, I spend 10 minutes playing a press roll. Soft, loud, soft. 10 minutes a day. And I always, because Elvin Jones used to say, when in doubt, roll. And speaking of Art Blakey, man, to see him do that, like his press roll, you had to do it. When you see something that powerful, you have to incorporate it in your own playing somehow. So, I mean, growing up in the 80s and 90s with Art Blakey, you had the press roll. And the only way to do it is you just do it when you play, and you put it in your solo, even if you don't want to, just to practice. And I spend 10 minutes a day on it. And like Jimmy Cobb says, You put your shoulders in it and just press, man. Just press and roll. Simple.
Yeah. Michele Sant'Anastasio. Hey, guys.
Hey, together.
Come on, Michele. So, Joe, I really wanted to thank you for I
Yeah.
mean, I want to really thank you for doing this. I think this was one of the most beautiful and informative and interview, really. And I hope all of you guys out there who are watching right now, and the people who's going to be watching on YouTube afterwards or Facebook or whatever. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this because Joe really, really said, give everyone some great information, and this is gold. What Joe just said in this interview, it's to me, it's gold. It's beautiful, great information. So I hope you guys are going to get some out of this because thank you, Joe.
Hold on. We got to end with music. We got time for music, music, music. Are you cutting out? We got time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, man. This is Vanel Fournier. Music, music, music. Just the melody.
Swinging, cooking. Well, I would like to thank you one more time, Joe. That's
Thank
wonderful,
you,
man.
Pepe.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Thank you,
beautiful.
brother.
Hey, you're very welcome. Give my best to the family, and again, thank you for doing this. You always will be always in my heart. I love your music. Thanks for your inspiration. Because hey, that's John Farnsworth. Period. Love you.
La Paz Contiga.
Okay, ciao. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Ciao. And that was Joel Farnsworth, ladies and gentlemen, one of the, a dear friend of mine, and he's a wonderful, 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 great drummer. And this was a great video. This was a great, very informative, I guess. So before I go, I would like to remind you that this coming Sunday, we're going to close the week with the great Kathy Rich, which is Buddy Rich's daughter, the great Kathy Rich, and Greg Potter, which is the drummer for the Buddy Rich big band. Today, we'll be talking about a lot of, a lot of great topics, a lot of great stuff, informative. Also, we'll be talking about, I'm sure a lot of people want to know, Buddy Rich. What was, Buddy Rich as a person, as a father, as a mentor, So, who better than Kathy Rich? She's also a wonderful singer. Greg Potter is an amazing drummer. So don't miss it. This coming Sunday, June 28th, Peppe Merolla and Friends, with the great, the one and only Kathy Rich and Greg Potter. Thank you again to John Farnsworth. It was a great, great, great live stream. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy this and get something out of this. Music is about love and passion. So keep drumming. We love you, Peppe Merolla. Bye now.